Welcome to the live stream of consciousness. The live stream of consciousness is on a quest to unravel the mysteries of existence. Every episode, we ask the fundamental question, what is consciousness? Is consciousness merely a product of our brains, or does it connect us to something greater? Explore the very fabric of our thoughts. Don't miss a moment. Expand your awareness and tap into the boundless potential that resides within you. Welcome to the live stream of consciousness.
Yes, welcome to the live stream of consciousness. Everybody's welcome. I'm here. I made it. It's mine now moment. It's Thursday, September. What is it? The 26th. Wow, September's also going pretty quick. August went pretty quick, but September's also right behind it. Yeah, it's Thursday. It's the live stream of consciousness. I don't think we're ever going to stop trying to unravel the mysteries that Jesse's talking about. It's just something I like to do in my spare time. So that's what we're doing now. We've all joined together at this moment to have a live stream of consciousness. I want to just talk real quickly about a couple of things. I'm having a great time with AI and experimenting with all of the cool things that are out there. Oh, you know what? I forgot to say hello to everybody. I see Grace out there. I see Tim out there. I see Ninja Kitty out there. What's up, guys? Always in the front row. You guys come early to get good seats. I like that. So I've been playing around with AI, and I saw this video. I watch a lot of podcasts about spirituality, and I watch a lot of podcasts about technology. And they had this podcast where they said you can now generate a podcast with AI just by giving it some information, telling it what you want the podcast to be about. And I just watched this podcast that it happened to be about AI. They made that the topic of it, and it looked like a natural conversation between two humans. I was blown away. And so I tried it, and it's done through Google has a new browser-based AI called Notebook LM, I think is, or machine learning, ML, Notebook ML, sorry. It's Notebook ML. And you sign on for free. So just go to your browser, Notebook ML, you'll see it. You sign on for free. And it's like a research tool. So it's a notebook. That's why they call it notebook. But you can give it any information, URLs, PDFs, any information you want, and it will create study guides. It will just basically take that information and show you how to look at it intelligently. I think AI is really, it's not thinking for you, but it's really showing you how to think a little bit more systematically. Anyway, so I went to the notebook LM, language model, machine learning. I don't know. It's one of those. And I put in my website and I said, give me a podcast. And I just want to share with you guys what it gave me. Now, it gave me a audio output. It's a Chrome tab. It is Facebook. It gave me an audio output. And so I had to do a little work. I had to take that audio output and then go to another AI program that connects it to an avatar, which is just an AI generated video to do the audio. And so I'm going to share this with you, just a couple of minutes of it. But I got a big kick out of it. And here it is. Check it out.
Ever get sucked into a podcast rabbit hole, one intriguing listen leading to another?
Oh, absolutely. Happens all the time.
Well, that's kind of what happened to me with this one, the live stream of consciousness. Title alone.
Yeah, definitely grabs your attention.
Like philosophy meets late night talk show,
I can see that.
And it's about, consciousness, but with a twist. So we're diving deep into this one today. But what makes it stand out? There are tons of podcasts on consciousness these days.
You're right. It's a crowded field. But maybe that's the key here, the approach. Look at the rise of podcasts on spirituality, personal growth, all that. People are yearning for something more.
Yeah, makes sense. World's a crazy place.
Exactly. So these topics, they offer a path, to deeper meaning, understanding.
Totally. And the live stream of consciousness, it seems to get that. They have this really eclectic mix of guests, healers, artists, even like housewives, all connected by this exploration of consciousness.
That's interesting. That's quite a range.
Right. So what do you think? Is there value in that kind of diversity?
It's a fascinating strategy. Some might say it dilutes the focus, but I think it could actually make it richer. Consciousness, it's not just a science thing. It's something we all experience differently.
True, true. And speaking of unique, the host, Michael Zinn, he's kind of a mystery man. Not much info out there about him adds to the intrigue, don't you think?
Yeah, it's a good hook. No preconceived notions. Listeners come in fresh, focus on the content.
Exactly. And speaking of content, it seems to go beyond just the podcast. Website recommends episodes with titles like The Fool's Journey, points to stuff like The New Grace Grella Show, The Sacred Spiral Network.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I see what you mean.
It's like they're part of a bigger conversation.
Definitely. And the themes, right? Personal transformation, spiritual exploration. It's tapping into a community for sure.
Absolutely. And they make it easy to jump in. Be a guest button, mailing list sign up.
They're building a community. It makes you think, if you could ask any of those guests one question, the healers, the artists, anyone,
Oh, I like that.
who would you choose and what would you ask?
That's something to ponder right there.
Definitely.
Wow. I'm amazed at how realistic that interaction was, the way they interrupted each other, and kind of the whole synopsis of what it was about with just giving my website to it. It was totally amazing. I just wanted to share that with you guys. If you're into the AI stuff, drop me a note. Because I love talking about it. I loved exploring it. I do some video stuff and all of that. The other thing I wanted to say before I share this next bit of information is if you're here and you've been here before and you like this kind of stuff and you know somebody else who likes this kind of stuff, share it. All it is a click in the button, sharing the podcast either onto your feed or sharing it directly to somebody. I really want to grow this community. I love being able to reach out and people to receive the messages that happen on the show and the things that happen and the guests that I bring on. And I see the Quiet Healer is here saying hello to everybody. What's up, Janice? Welcome. So the other thing I wanted to kind of promote before I brought my guest on, which I'm very excited about, let me just share another screen here. That's going to be this one, is Tanya and Cody Snyder. Tanya Dahl is her name, and Cody Snyder, who are married. So I guess it's actually Tanya Snyder right now. But they just started a podcast. They've both been on the show. Their podcast is called Acid for Squares. Now, they have some amazing guests on their show and amazing conversations. They're into kind of the same stuff, but they go further into paranormal, UFO stuff. They do a lot of stuff with plant medicine and ayahuasca and DMT experiences, near-death experiences, which we do some of that stuff here too. But it's just such an amazing show, and I just love their intro. All AI generated, I believe. But it's a really cool show. I just wanted to give them a shout out and share it. Acid for Squares website, podcast, all of that great stuff. So here I am. I've rambled for now 8 minutes. Usually it's 3 minutes. And I just have some cool things to share. So that's all good. But tonight's guest, I'm very excited for. She has her own business called Accurate Expediting. So she is an entrepreneur, right? She runs a financial business, but she also has another business called Christine's Canine Retreat, which is working with dogs and dog sitting. And I love that. I love that she has a business, she makes a living, and then because she's a business-minded woman, she makes another business doing something that probably brings her a lot of comfort and peace, which is hanging around with animals and being with the dogs. She's probably got a cool connection to the dogs. I'll let her talk about that. And then on the side, she's a realtor. So, she's a go-getter. I guess that's the word I'm looking for. So I'm excited to bring her on the show and hear all about her, give her the opportunity to talk to you guys and tell her what she's all about and talk about her spiritual experiences. She wanted to title this episode called Becoming Christine, because we're gonna hear all about how she became who she is and how she achieved the things that she did, created her own businesses, hangs out with the dogs, all of those fun things. So welcome to the live stream of consciousness, Christine Fey.
Hi, Mike.
How you doing, Christine?
I'm great. Wow, that was some cool stuff you shared first. Wow.
Yeah, I'm having so much fun with those tools. And I just feel like, you know, it's kind of like, it reminds me of, there's a lot of controversy right now because a lot of artists are like, oh, it's not real art and this and that. And I can remember when I got into photography, they were like, I felt like, oh, is that really art compared to people who can draw and paint? Like, it's not really art. But the conclusion that I came up with was art is just this big category, right? And painting is a subcategory, photography is a subcategory. Why can't AI art be another subcategory, right? It's not competing with painting or sculpting or anything. It's just another new tool. So I'm excited for this moment in time that
And
AI
the
is available.
voice was a little like George Clooney and your voice mixed, like you had said. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So Christine
Clooney-esque.
had seen the video and she thought I had done the voiceover, and yes, I said it sounded like George Clooney to me, because AI generated that was the first thing it did, was it spit out just the audio of like a podcast you would listen to, and then I took that and put it into some other AI tools that generate the whole character lip syncing to it, which is again another branch of AI, which is amazing.
Wow.
So, but I want to talk about all the cool things that I said you do. But you're on my show and we have some business to take care of. I call it
Yes.
business, but it's just kind of like a warm up. And I actually love it because sometimes I'll ask it and I'll see people respond like, "Oh my God, that question, how am I supposed to answer that?" And then all I do is relax and get into the flow, and it comes out right, because it's different for everybody. There's no wrong answer. And of course, that question is, what is consciousness? What are we even talking about?
Okay. So for me, consciousness is awareness, right? So I have to know the awareness of nature, the sun, the moon, people, things brought into my life. And, I will talk about God, spirit. I'm going to call God spirit in this interview. But awareness is knowing, like consciousness to me is knowing. You have to be aware. You have to have your eyes open. You have to listen. You have to hear, what's going on, what's being brought to you. And I have some really cool stories about that. And I'll let you know how I became Christine.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's great. And the perfect answer. I think that's where it starts, right? The idea of even understanding that I'm thinking something and I'm trying to make sense of it all and I'm perceiving it, right? The idea of the perception. We are all individual perceptions of a bigger consciousness. So that's a great answer. The next question will hopefully lead us into all of the things that I want to hear and you want to talk about. I think the things that I was talking about, the business, the financial, very kind of businessy business, and then the more organic, kind of holistic business. I think that exemplifies like a nice balanced soul. I think that, it's a great place to be. And you've become Christine, you've become that.
Okay.
But I'm wondering if there's a memory you have or a moment that you could share that you kind of realized that, it wasn't all about, going to work, bringing home a paycheck and, just kind of the standard things we've been told life is about.
For sure. There was a moment in my life when I was in a toxic marriage, and, everything was about me building a house, things. It was having a baby. It was all these things I wanted. And I focused on all of that. And this is before I became spiritual. I built a house, and that was my like thing. That was my baby. Then I tried to have a baby, and then I had a miscarriage. And after the miscarriage, I went into the dark night of the soul. It was really, really what they call dark night of the soul.
Mm-hmm.
And then my marriage ended up breaking up.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, the house was not this great thing, my baby anymore. My husband kept saying, the house is a roof over the head. It's a roof over your head. And I was like, no, I built this. And then once I was getting out of the marriage, the house no longer was my baby. It was just a thing. It was not even important. So me leaving the marriage was really, really, I would say tough, but that's when I felt spirit carried me, because I packed up my house by myself. I remember my parents were away, And I was driving my car. I had this black Acura, and I packed as much stuff I could pack in it, and kept driving to my parents and unloading it. And I just remember that feeling in my gut that I was being carried. You know, there was an instance where I actually tried to save the marriage, and we went on a cruise. It was our 7th year anniversary. And I said, let's go on a cruise. But before that, I asked God, please show me who he is. We went on the cruise, and God showed me who he was. And I ended up doing that cruise kind of by myself, because actually a couple that we had met on another cruise years ago surprised me because they knew I was going through a depression. I had lost a baby. Anyway, so what happened was I felt God carried me. I felt like just the strength. So God carried me out of that marriage. And that was about 18 years ago. And then that started my journey and immersing myself in spirituality, books, Louise Hay, Doreen Virtue, Dr. Wayne Dyer, everything. I just wanted knowledge. I wanted knowledge. I laid on my living room floor, desperate for something, and asking God to like come into me, show me who you are. I really had a little bit of an skewed vision of God. I becoming Christine, that was what we wanted to talk about, right? Can I do the business stuff later? Because to me, this
sure, go with the flow. Absolutely, 1,000,000%. Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
So, well, my name is Christine Fey, and along the way in my life, my identity was lost, or should I say, I started finding myself 18 years ago. My mom had called me Sarah Bernhardt from when I was a child. Sarah Bernhardt was an actress, so I don't know quite why she did that, but I have a little bit of idea. My ex-husband used to call me wifey, or some kind of a pet name he gave me. He never referred to me as Christine. I have 2 brothers. I'm the middle child. So I was always Tommy and Michael's sister. I was granddaughter. I was friend. I was caregiver, helper, girlfriend. I was never Christine.
Wow.
So it wasn't until after the miscarriage at 37 and my marriage breaking up that I entered to the world of Christine. Like I said, I was a seeker from that moment on. I immersed myself in every self-help book. I joined women's circles, drum circles. I attended so many spiritual groups as I could in search of Christine. And I became who I am today because of those choices. I went from not knowing who I was to who I am today, what I want, what I deserve, how I deserve to be treated, what doesn't serve me in my life. And throughout my awareness of consciousness was always there. I'm going to talk about a subject, though, that's very touchy for some. Like I said, it's God.
Sure.
So from an early age, I was brought up Catholic. They talked about God. And my version of God that they said was, it was like this old man sitting up at a desk up in the sky somewhere with a gavel, right? And there's going to be this judgment day. So as I got older, I thought, judgment, wow, wait a second. Aren't we taught no judgment? So my thoughts on God, I took some notes here, became a little skewed. And when I was 10, my grandpa died, and my mother said, oh, yeah, grandpa's in the sky. So then when I went on my first plane trip, I was looking for grandpa. He wasn't there.
Interesting.
So I felt like I was lied to. I was I was so disappointed. And as an adult, I became a lector in the Catholic Church. I read the Bible to people. When I got to certain parts, I was like, did this really happen? Did it take Noah 120 years to build an ark? Who was his contractor? You know?
Right.
I then questioned the priest, and I was like, asking him about God. And he was like, Christine, you asking me where God is like a fish in the ocean asking where the water is. God is all around you. So the word God had changed for me as I got older. I learned to become more spiritual. I believe wholeheartedly that there is something out there, not a man in the sky, but spirit. And I'm connected to that spirit because I'm open to it. You know, I see it all the time. And I can tell you a few stories about that spirit.
Sure. I want you to, but I want to stop you there for a second, because I think that's an important subject, right? I think there's a lot of people who are brought up religious, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know, there are certain things about, I think, religion and the way that it's been presented. You know, like you said, you thought certain things, right? And like a judgment day kind of is very hypocritical to the idea of, well, God loves everybody, God is non-judgmental, right? What does that mean, that there's a judgment day? What do you mean, you know? So I think it's common for people to kind of, as they get older, question these things, right? But I think the important thing for me, and this is kind of, we spoke about this whole thing, was the personification of the word God
Yes.
is really kind of where a lot of people get caught up, and it's hard to get beyond that to get to that spirituality, which is really inside, right? It's not an outside thing. So I think that's important. I just wanted to kind of reiterate that, you know, it doesn't matter what the words that you use are, it's the feelings that are associated with it. And so you were able to separate from the feeling of the guy in the robes with the beard, and, you know, the personification of it.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely, because God became spirit. And when I say God today, I mean spirit, not the man in the sky.
Right.
You know, God is in people, it's in friends, it's in everything. I look at everything as if for the first time. It's a weird thing, but I'm like, oh, look at that wave. Oh, look at the moon. Oh, and that's how I am. I have like this childlike wonderment
That's
that
awesome.
I
Yeah.
never want to lose.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm going to tell you a story. So time period, after
Okay.
miscarriage, being married, depressed, dark night of the soul. My husband and I were talking about, it was winter time, and it was snowing out. There was a snowstorm, and we were talking about how there was not a lot of kids that come by anymore shoveling. Well, no sooner than, I don't even know, that night, it was in a snowstorm, the phone rings and the doorbell rings. He gets the phone, I get the door. It was two kids saying, can we shovel your snow? So my husband was like, after the snowstorm, tell him to come back when it's done.
Right.
So I asked the little boy, I'm like, what is your name? He said, Dio. Dio means God in Spanish. So I was like, it was through the dark night of the soul. So I'm grabbing onto everything. I'm like, that was God. You know, we were just talking about kids don't do this. Another time that year, it was the same thing. Christmas carolers. Oh, there's no Christmas carolers anymore. You know, it's so nice. And when that happens, if it does. And so all of a sudden one night I hear music, and I'm like, I run upstairs. I look out my window in the house that I built, and I was like, oh, there's Christmas carolers. And I was like, please come. I said in my heart, I'm like, please come to my house. I was in a robe. They came right over to my house. It was snow on the steps. Wow. I sat down in my robe and cried.
Wow.
So like at that time, I needed to feel it. And I always say, if I ever doubted there was anything, if I ever did, I have to remind myself.
Yeah.
Now, I told you about the dog named Tom, right? Well, later on in life, it was most recently during COVID.
Yeah.
It was Thanksgiving, and I was all by myself. I had COVID. You couldn't go near anybody. You had COVID. I live alone. I was in my house. It was kind of warm out, and my mother and I had gotten this bench for my dad at Belmont Lake State Park. It has his name on it. My dad's name is Thomas Fey. And I'm sitting there, laying there. I have the mask on and everything. I have COVID. I'm sick. I felt so alone because it was my first Thanksgiving ever without family.
Yeah. Wow.
So I go to the park. I'm figuring I'm not going to, I'm not touching anybody or whatever. I had the mask on.
Right.
All of a sudden, there's a man and a woman with a dog. And the dog comes right up to me, and he's like leaning on my knees. It was this big, handsome dog, and he had this red dot by his right eye. And he comes over to me, and I'm petting him, and I'm petting him. And I'm like, your dog must know I'm a dog sitter. And she's like, oh, he's a rescue. He doesn't have good manners. He's just himself. He's whatever.
Right.
I'm like, what's his name? She goes, Tom. That was it.
Wow.
I was crying. I'm like,
Wow.
Stan, this is my dad's bench. It's Thanksgiving. I feel so alone. I'm like, this is who names their dog Tom? She goes,
Right?
we didn't name him. She goes, we got him as a rescue.
He
So I'm
was
like, tell me about him. He loves to watch TV. I'm like, that's my dad. And
Wow.
then like all the stuff, it was character.
Well, you told me something about his eye too, right? You
I'm
said
going to
something.
tell you that. Yeah.
Yeah,
So the
okay.
kicker was my dad always used to like blow out his right eye. It was always like a blood blister in his right eye. And this dog's eye, I have a picture of this dog too. He's so handsome. He had a red spot in his right eye. And that was it. Michael, I was like, beyond a shadow of a doubt, there's like no doubt there's something. There is something.
Absolutely.
So consciousness, a live stream of consciousness. Your title is Consciousness is Alive. It's in everything. It's in nature. It's like I said, the sun, the moon, the ocean, wood.
To me, that's the definition of God to me, right? God is the spark that's in everything. Is what I consider God, right? And I also consider that consciousness. I consider consciousness the spark that's in everything. And so I mean, do I consider God consciousness? Yeah, I kind of do. I feel like God is the consciousness, and as I was saying earlier, we're all individual perceptions of God, just here to experience each other, here to experience God is experiencing himself through us.
Exactly.
And that's, I love that philosophy. I think it's just it's a great way to feel at ease with yourself, and that, okay, you do have purpose. Everybody is unique. Everybody is, here for a reason. And the reason is to be that perception, which is so simple. You know what I mean? It's just to live life as you. That's great. I love that story. That's so great. And also just through the stories that you've already told, and we talked about this last week, I think, with David Ferdinand, was synchronicities, right? Is that's a part of consciousness, is making those connections in how everything's connected, and recognizing these moments as, wait a second, there's a message here. There's a little ping, right? Consciousness is like pinging me, saying, "Bink, hello."
Yeah, like a butterfly or something. Even like when you talk about your life's purpose. So I have a lot of experience with people who have died, who have passed. Okay. And I'm a person that is fortunate enough to have helped people pass. I had a best friend that passed last week, 7 years ago. And, I feel that God or consciousness, the universe uses me to assist people. I hold people's hands. I talk to them. We chant. And I just feel like my purpose in life, I don't have children. So I feel like my purpose is to help others. I have an autistic child in my life that I've helped my best friend, who's a soul brother, get custody of. I assist in so many other ways. And Mother's Day used to bother me a lot. And now it's been a long time. And now Mother's Day doesn't bother me so much because people keep telling me, Christine, you're mother to a lot of people. My mothering ways, Right. So I feel like purpose, when you talked about purpose of life, I feel like my purpose in life is that. And then it leads into, what do I do for a living? So I'm an expediter. I'm a building permit expediter. Accurate Expediting, I think it's back there. This is
and what is that for people who may not know?
So Accurate Expediting, I am self-taught. I've been doing this for 30-something years. My father was a fireman, then he was a butcher, and then he decided to open up a construction company. I think I was 19 years old. I was a realtor at 19. I let my license go and went to work for Dad for 20 years. So Dad did siding, roofing, windows, dormers, extensions, all these different things, finished basements, everything. And so Dad used to hire somebody to get the permits. And then, my personality, is a little bit more outgoing now than when I was a child. So my dad was like, Christine, you should do this. And I'm like, all right, I'll do it. So my dad enabled me to build up this whole
Wow.
all these relationships with the towns. So
Right.
from when I was like 23, I think I really started it. And so I started doing it. And then
That's
through
awesome.
those 20 years, Dad said, I'm like, Dad, can I do this for other people too? He's like, yeah, you could do it for whoever you want. So I got permits for my dad's company and other contractors, and I've made a career out of it.
Awesome.
I'm sole proprietor, because the people want to see you.
Yeah.
But now everything's changing. Everything's going, portal through the computer. I think
Digital,
that
yeah. Sure.
COVID really, really made it a less personal thing,
Right.
a less personal, atmosphere. Now
Right.
you could submit through the portal system.
Sure.
But I like one-on-one, just like real estate. So my life's purpose is I am the liaison between a contractor or a homeowner to obtain building permits for, realizing their dreams. They want to build a dormer on because they're having their family's getting bigger. Same thing with real estate. My passion to make people happy and make their dreams come true.
But see, I think that's a part of who you are. It says a lot about you, because I think there's lots of people who probably do expediting who don't look at it that way. They look at it as a job that they have to do because they have to make money. But like your story is, for me, great, because I know as I got older, right, I did, a little bit of this when I was younger, a little bit of that, but all the things that I did along the way became who I was. And now that's what I do for a living, right? And so you did these things along the way, just kind of growing up with Dad, and you just kind of picked up on them, and it's a skill, right? It's a skill to be able to talk to people. Like you said, you have these relationships with the different companies, and not only do you have the relationships, but you understand what those processes are and what they mean. You know what I mean? I would have no idea, like, what like if I wanted to build something, I would need to hire somebody like you. And that's great that you were able to, take the things that you knew and enjoy it. It sounded like you enjoyed it. And actually that's what I started to say was, that's what makes a good real estate agent. That's what makes a good expediter, is the way that you look at it. You're looking at it like, man, I'm a part of helping these people achieve their dreams, get a house. You know what I mean? And I have a friend, Jennifer Nix, who's a real estate agent, and she's the same way. She's so lovely. She's such an amazing person because she really loves to help people find a house. And we were looking for a little while. She was helping us, and we love working with her. It turns out we're kind of not ready at this point, but my girlfriend's son, Janice's son, is still in high school, and we want to get off the island. So there's a whole other story to that.
Gotcha.
But anyway, so we put that on hold. But going through the process, and again, my relationship with Jen Nix was through my studio and through my business. But then we created this other relationship, and I really got to see how much of an amazing person she was, and how much it meant to her to do what she does. And it sounds like those things mean the same to you, and that makes you a special person. You know what I mean? It really does. There's a lot of miserable people out there.
It's not always rainbows and butterflies, though, because I have a lot of other things going on in my life, and if I'm only one person, so we have Expediting, we have Realtor, which I'm not one of those big real estate tycoons. When I read your thing, I was like, wait a second, I got to call Steve Venturante. Steve, I don't know what he said I am. I'm not this like big real estate. And he goes, Christine, you are successful. I'm not, because I said, I'm not one of those realtors that walks around in all these fancy clothes and all this stuff.
Right.
And not that there's anything wrong with that, because I'm not that. I'm just like, I'm a realtor.
Sure. Truth is, all I said was realtor. I didn't say famous realtor or like world-renowned realtor. But you know what? Truthfully, like, I agree with Steve. That's a part of who you are. I mean, I'm impressed. I think that you probably, like you said, it's not all unicorns and roses, right? But you
Out of
live a life that other people look at and say, wow, she's doing what she wants. She makes money. She gets to sit with dogs. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm sure that's calming and a peaceful thing for you, right? I mean,
So
it's got to
yeah,
be,
so that was my next subject. It's about balance, right? So how can I juggle these three things? And it's not even three,
I
because
don't want to push it. Wait, am I pushing you ahead in your story? I don't want to push you too far ahead. If you
no,
got
you're not pushing me ahead
okay,
at all, because I didn't
good.
even have what's the rest of my story? I don't even know.
Okay. So expediting is good. You
Expediting
know
is,
how to do it.
I
You're
love it.
successful at it. It provided you a living.
It provides me a living. Yeah, real estate is great too. Dog sitting is wonderful. So the dog sitting, I've loved dogs all my life. And the dog sitting, so because it's not always rainbows and butterflies, dog sitting brings me so much joy, right? Because I love dogs, and I don't have a dog, and it's called Christine's Canine Retreat, because I add a little bit of my spirituality into it, because I put on a doggy TV, relaxing music. I hang out with the dog on my couch, and it's only one dog. So it's like one-on-one, or if a person has two dogs, obviously it's two, but it's, and they always come at the right time, because back to it's not always rainbows and butterflies. 3 years ago, I got tinnitus.
Oh.
So I have a constant ringing in my ears 24/7, 365. I have high pitched noise. It was devastating to me. One day I woke up and I heard this high pitched noise.
Oh wow!
It was during COVID. I'm not vaccinated, so it wasn't to do with that, and I hadn't gotten COVID, so it wasn't, at that point. So it wasn't due to that. So I went everywhere, every ear, nose, throat doctor, every kind of spiritual person, and I was told I was being elevated.
Interesting. I've heard that.
Elevation symptoms. So I went to Steve for some past life regression. Turns out I think I was hit in the head with a club in the caveman days.
Oh wow!
That was one of my past lives.
That was like the ringing from that hit. Wow.
Another one was I was at the Bell in Philadelphia, and somebody rang the bell, and that was it. It never went away. So
wow.
Yeah, so it's some really weird past life regression sessions. But so I've had to really overcome this tinnitus. I wear hearing aids to try to distract my brain. So it's a brain retraining course that I actually am in also. So it's like I'm doing 5 million things, and it's actually a lot at one time. So I actually have to learn to center myself a lot. So I go to the beach. I do things like that. The ocean. I wish I could live by the ocean, because when I'm at the ocean, the sound is gone.
Oh, wow.
Because you have a constant ocean noise.
Right. The white noise kind of bounces it out. Yeah. Wow.
So like a lot of things. I have a lot of facets. I don't know. I like who I am today. I didn't used to like who I am.
That's the key to everything. I think it's I mean, I know for me that was a pivotal moment. And there's a couple of questions here I want to ask you from the chat, but I know for me, and I may have talked about this on the show before, I also don't have any kids, and it's probably one of my few, if not only, regrets, right, that I haven't had that experience. That's something that I would really love to experience and kind of like look at my life and say, that's the one thing I didn't get to do, and oh my God, I just lost my train of thought. This happened to me before too.
Kids missing out.
What were you saying?
We're talking about kids.
We're talking about kids. We're talking about kids. No, we're talking about I don't have any kids. Okay. We're talking about loving ourselves. Right. I'm sorry. I don't know. I heard a motorcycle go by and I was like, oh, I hope that wasn't on the broadcast. So I don't have any kids. Let me start the story over again. I don't have any kids. And I can only imagine what it must feel like, because I'm very in touch with feelings, to have a kid and to look at your child, right? To just be gazing at your child. Something told me at some point in my life that that's what you should feel when you look in the mirror. When you pass by a mirror, that's what you should feel like. You're looking at the most perfect being, like it's your child. And I think people don't do that in general. I think it's a real thing. And now I don't have a child, so I don't know what that feels like. But I remember the day that I walked by the mirror and I saw my reflection and I felt that. I felt love for myself. I felt it felt different. I felt like, wow. And and I'm relating that to what you're saying, like you became Christine, I became Michael. And I also wanted to kind of address this, but my friend Angelo, who's in the audience here, he's been kind of hearing things. He says your cats give you comfort. So you started talking about dogs, but did you ever have a cat? Do you have a story
No,
with a
I'm
cat?
allergic.
No?
Allergic to cats.
You're
Yeah.
allergic to cats. All right, so there you go,
Actually
Angelo.
allergic to dogs too. I only dog sit little dogs.
So
And dogs.
Angelo, retune your message there a little bit. Figure out what you're getting. um. Anyway.
So the kid thing, yeah. So
Yeah.
listen. So
Yes.
inner
Go ahead.
child work.
Say that again.
Inner child work.
Inner
Brings-
child work.
So I do a lot of inner child work with Sunshine. a
Oh wow.
coach. Yeah. She was
Sunshine's
on your
awesome.
show. Wasn't she on your show?
What's that?
Was Sunshine ever on your show?
Sunshine has been on my show, and as a matter of fact, I like to believe that Sunshine started her show from my show, because we had a lot of discussions about it. I started doing a painting with Sunshine show with her, which we had a lot of fun on, and she just kind of had her own visions for what she wanted to do, and she just kind of went off and did her show, and she's amazing. Sunshine is, the when you said becoming Christine,
Yeah.
that's what I thought about was, Sunshine was always amazing to me because that's what I wanted to talk about. She created herself. She created her being as Sunshine, and it was so accurate, to who she was. And so I loved her story. But what I was going to say was, it's interesting how you say becoming Christine, because a lot of people, I feel like, the part of their spiritual journey is like, oh, I was given a name, I was given a religion, I was given all of these things that aren't me. And so Sunshine, in her case, she felt like she wanted to create a new identity. But who you never got to be the identity that you were given, from the story you told me, you said, no, wait a second, I'm Christine, I want to be Christine. And so I just love the story because it's the same, but it's opposite, right? It's like the same feelings that you guys achieved, the same place that you went to, in completely opposite ways. I just love that so much. That's so great.
And she actually legally changed her name to Sunshine.
Yeah,
Wonderful. So I work with
she is.
Yeah, she's pure sunshine. So I work with her doing inner child work. So not having a child, there are sessions where I'm with her where she says, picture yourself holding your little girl's hand. I know exactly what my little girl looks like. And so we do this work, and when Sunshine holds my hand, I can bring that right back. Like right now, I can feel it. So it's awesome. So those sessions with Sunshine are amazing. So I do inner child work with her. She also aided me in losing weight too, because she would say, would you give your little girl that? Would you feed that to your little girl? And when she said that, it was like, oh no,
wow.
I would feed that to my little girl. So through that work, and then also my other mentor, Stephanie Klein, I'm involved with the Real Weight Loss Program. I lost 25 pounds, but in this period of my life right now, in the past several months, I've gained some back, which is okay, because everything is learning. Everybody is student, everybody is teacher, and I'm learning, okay, when this situation comes up, this is my response. And I'm learning about call and response, because what I was taught when I was younger was food, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, ice cream, cake. You know,
Mhm,
everything was
mhm,
food.
mhm,
My
mhm.
father was a butcher. He was a chef in the fire department.
Yeah.
Dad was 6'2", big guy. It was all about food, food on the table at 6:30 at night. So now, instead of becoming food focused, I'm learning to become more life focused.
Mhm.
So being
Great.
life focused is like, let's experience life. Let's be in the moment. Let's not make it
Mhm,
about food. You know,
mhm, mhm.
I screw up sometimes, but I don't even call it a
Sure,
screw up anymore. It's called
sure.
collecting intel.
Yeah, sure. Listen, I love those philosophies, the philosophy that every moment is perfect, right? Even if you're going through something, even if you're like struggling with your weight and you're like, oh my God, I'm eating this, like that moment is meant to teach you that, right? To show you, like, hey, you're not happy like this.
Nope.
The only person who could do anything about it is you. And eventually you realize those things, you know what I mean? And you look back and you're like, man, oh man, it was that easy, to just like kind of make the choice. And I say it, it's easy for me to say that. I make wrong choices all the time, and I am accountable for them. And that gives me the ability to work on them and make things right. I certainly feel like I make a lot of right choices as well. I think something that you said earlier about being a doula. Now, you didn't talk about it you didn't use that word doula, but a doula is somebody who helps people transition, right? People pass on. I think that is amazing. I remember, I was there when my father passed. And it was one of the most spiritual moments of my life. And I think that truly is a gift, because I think there's a lot of people who have a lot of fear of dying. There's a lot of kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Not stereotype. Oh my God, what's
Stigma.
there's a lot of stigma around it. Thank you. There's a lot of stigma around it, and so to be able to handle it and to understand it and perceive it as that transition of energy, and not be afraid of death. Oh my God, that's also another. So the loving yourself and seeing yourself as your child. Not being afraid to die, because it's just your energy's changing from one form to another. Those kinds of things. You know, I don't need to be a millionaire. I don't need to do all of these things that society told me, because I have that comfort. I have that knowledge. I have that, that peace. And that's kind of what I think my mission is with this show, is to show people how easy it is, to show people it's inside them. You had a great story about you have a great story about becoming who you are, and that's it. Going through those trials and tribulations and kind of being like, okay, that's okay that I did that, right? It's okay that I had a bad marriage. You talk about it now, but I'm sure at the moment, it wasn't like you probably wouldn't be willing to talk about it the way you are now, because now you're able to perceive it as something that made you who you are, something that gave you strength, gave
That's
you
what
character.
Yep, and spirit carried me through that whole transition. That's really, really carried me. Um,
Mhm.
I tell you about the people I work with, because I wouldn't be who I am today if I didn't work with people like yourself and Sunshine and Stephen Tarante. I
Mhm.
mean, he teaches me mindfulness. And I try to drag people in with me. Like, I've brought my mom, my
Right.
friends, people who would not even think about anything. I'm like, just come with me,
Mhm.
because I
Mhm.
want everybody to feel what I feel. I
Sure.
don't always feel this way, and I am still afraid of dying.
Sure.
I just have assisted people in dying a more comforting death. I still
Right.
am afraid of dying. I'm
Sure.
afraid of pain. I'm afraid. So I am someone who I I don't know, my mother or somebody calls me a hypochondriac. And I'm always feeling things, and I'm always trying to tell people, no, I feel hurt first and then I get anxiety.
Mhm.
No, and then I have to self-talk a lot. Like, a lot of times I think I'm dying because I think I'm having a heart attack or whatever,
Mhm.
and I have anxiety. You
Right.
know, through these 18 years and living in this house, which is my grandparents' house, which is 100
Oh,
years old, and I
wow.
see spirit all the time. I feel
Awesome.
comfortable here. Like, this is my safe space.
Nice.
And, I never used to want to be alone. I
Right.
always had to be with someone. I always used to have to be out every night. Now
Mhm.
I could stay home I'm fine. I'm fun on a date with myself, going to the movies, going to dinner. I'm totally happy with being who I am. And
That's
it's
awesome.
only that in that way I could attract somebody into my life.
100,000,000%.
Only
I
way.
always say that, be the person you want to fall in love with. And then when you achieve that, when you can finally say, you know what? I would love myself. No, you know what? I do love myself. Then you're ready. Then you're ready. And the right
It's
person
funny.
will
It's funny. When you're not looking for it, it comes too. It's
yeah,
like,
1,000,000%. A
yeah,
1,000,000%. I'm so blessed to be in such a great relationship. And I was not expecting it. She was not expecting it. And it's just, you kind of know, and it is a blessing. And you know what? I think I can still say, and she's not gonna like this, I can still say I'd be comfortable if it ended tomorrow. I would still be comfortable. I wouldn't be like, oh my God, what am I going to do? You know what I mean? And I think that's kind of where a lot of people are, in their relationships. They become, I just was reading something about, what do you really own? What's really yours? Nothing. You're in this moment. That's what's yours. You know what I mean?
that's a
Um,
whole other subject, right? So I wasn't looking for anybody, and somebody found me a few
oh,
months ago. Yeah. And it's like that
nice.
energy. Everything is energy, energy, energy. And it's funny, like,
Mhm,
you know how the hair can stand up on your arms? Like,
mhm.
that's consciousness. I am
Yeah,
so aware. If somebody tells me something that's
that's awesome.
painful or hurtful, like the hair will go up. If
Yeah,
I'm about to do something driving, it's like it's that that energy thing.
yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, to
When
be
you
in
walk
touch
into
with
a
that.
room, right? When you walk into a room too, like,
Mhm,
so my friend circle is now only friends that really can vibe with me, because
mhm.
having tinnitus and having other stuff going on in my life, I don't have time for the games, or the just the stressful stuff. I mean, life
Yeah.
gets lifey anyway. So, you know, I choose not to have like a whole big circle. I mean, you might see me on Facebook with pictures of a whole bunch of people and
Right.
going out dancing. That's summertime.
Right.
Wintertime, it's like,
And
all
that's
right,
right. Yeah,
yeah.
have you got to enjoy life. You really do got to enjoy life. I want to ask you a question, because I feel like this is important. I'm not really. I try to skirt it around. You can't really skirt it around. I'm not a big fan of like terminology, right? Like the spiritual journey kind of thing, right? I just think that's life. Life is your
Right.
spiritual journey, right? So even when you talk about healing and things, like I'm not just a big fan of that, because I guess healing indicates hurting, right? So, and that's what it is, and that's fine. You got to heal from that. But this is a little different. So you talked about holding people's hands as they pass and giving them comfort, right? And feeling like, wait a second, I did something here. This person was passing, like this is what I felt with my dad. Like he was just afraid, and being in the room, my brother, my sister, and myself, and kind of being like, it's okay, dad, it's
Right.
okay. That's what you're talking about, right? That's that moment, and that's that
So,
that
yeah.
that doula spirit, right? And my question is this, and I think I know the answer, but I want to see what you feel about it, is what does that do for you? Do you feel like you're getting healed at that moment as well? Like,
So what it is so when a person is dying or suffering with cancer, and I feel like, so I'm the one leading up to that, because I'm that friend that is coming to see you every day. I'm that niece that's coming to see you every day. I want to make sure that you feel loved. I want to make sure you're not alone.
mhm,
I want to make sure
mhm,
that you feel okay.
mhm,
And I want you to know that it's okay to let go. So what it does for me, and I could cry right now, it makes me
absolutely.
feel like I have purpose. Like, that's one of my
And you
purposes.
do.
And
Yeah.
somebody told me, Christine, do you ever think about being a doula? And I'm like, but I think I'm just a doula for my family and friends.
Mhm,
I don't,
mhm, mhm.
actually, I love strangers too. I love
Yeah.
children and older people. So maybe I could be a doula for them too. I don't know.
Maybe
But
you will. Listen, maybe it's just not the now moment, right? But it's something. But as I said before, right? Even expediting was something that you did and you got good at. And you had experience at that, so you have experience at being a doula. And when the moment comes again, Christine, you will be that doula, absolutely. And whether it's professionally or just because spiritually, you're supposed to be there, and you know that. I don't have to tell you that. I mean,
so many people have told me that. Steve, I
yeah,
think Steve is one of them. My other spirit brother told me that. You
yeah,
know, yeah, interesting conversation, that doula thing, because
yeah.
it makes me feel really good, so that somebody could
Right.
feel like they were loved, and they're not
So
alone.
I want to actually suggest something to you. And it's so funny because I always have to like do a disclaimer. Like, I don't usually talk like this, right? Like, I'm being told this, I'm being told that, right? But what I'm hearing and what I'm feeling is donation based, right? So I think a lot of times people struggle with, oh, I don't want to charge money. How much would I charge? It's not about that. But if you say I do this stuff and it's donation based, then you do it because you're good at it, and then whatever that person feels like that was worth to them is the exchange that happens. You know what I mean? And then it's like it's just a little more comfortable that way. I've been thinking about kind of doing that. Like, I'm not a trained therapist, right? But I can sit with somebody and I can talk to somebody and I can help them just by listening to where they're at and responding, right? Angelo, one of the listeners of the show, he's been on his spiritual journey, right? And he's been asking me questions like, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And I don't even think about the answer. It just comes through me, right? What he's supposed to hear is what I tell him. And earlier on the Grace Grella show, I don't know if you were watching, that's the message that came through Grace as well. Just, you've got your answer, your own answer. And
Yeah.
that's the truth for all of us. I think it's like when you stop looking so hard, you're like, oh wait, here it is. It was right here in my pocket the whole
The
time.
whole time. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
That's wonderful. It's
yeah,
so wonderful to have that.
yeah,
Really.
life is pretty amazing that way. And again, that's the philosophy of every moment is exactly what it's supposed to be. Those realizations, those aha moments, they come when they're supposed to. You can't look for them.
You have time for one more quick story?
I have time for one more quick story. Absolutely. Let's hear it.
So here's another story. During COVID, somebody called me. It was the wrong number. So at first I was like, sorry, you have the wrong number. Then they called again. It was an elderly lady. Okay. Turns out she kept calling. And it was when we were in lockdown. Realtors couldn't go out and show houses. The towns were closed. Sitting on my couch, dealing with tinnitus in a bad way. Didn't even want to be alive. This lady keeps calling. So I finally just start talking to her. I talked to this lady for 8 months.
Wow.
During the 8 months, I got out of her that she was in a nursing home. Her daughter's name was Maureen. She had another daughter. Her daughter's number was one number off from mine. So I called her daughter and I said, I just want you to know your mom's been calling me for at that time, it was 6 months.
Right.
And she would call me. So the lady would call me. What the heck was her name? I can't believe I forgot her name. Anyway, so she would call me and she'd be like, Christine, the police are coming. Like, she would be all anxiety ridden. And I would have to say to her, look out the window, look at the snow. And then when it was fall or whatever, look at the leaves. I would calm her down, but she was calming me down because I was going through a really hard time. But so she kept calling. She kept calling. Talk to the daughter. Daughter says, oh, just block her number. And I go, no, block her
You don't understand.
I love talking to your mom. You don't get it.
It's so
then
great.
Maureen, we became friends. And then it was her birthday. It was her 93rd birthday. And COVID was like, they was loosening up now and you could go. I went. I bought her this little stuffed animal, got her a car. I videotaped the whole thing.
That's
and I said to her, and she had Alzheimer's. I'm like, I'm Christine. And she's like, oh. And I said, I'm your friend from the phone. she didn't really know, but everybody in the nursing home was like, who does this? Who are you? I'm like, no, you don't understand. She saved me.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
So lovely, Christine.
when she passed, the daughter called me
Mm-hmm.
and I went to the wake. I
Wow.
knew nobody. So Marion was her name. Marion's laying there in the coffin.
Mm-hmm.
Spirit came through me. Now we're all sitting there. I'm eating Tic Tacs. I don't know a soul. And then it came time for somebody to say something. Nobody was getting up in the family. So I got up and I stood in front of everybody and I said, nobody knows me in this room except for Marion, your mother, your aunt, your grandmother. Nobody knows me except for her. I want you to know that I loved her. She saved me. I saved her. The daughter was so happy for me, but I was happy for her. So I wrote a poem about it. Like, she was my wrong number, but she was the right number. You know?
Wow. Well, that's an amazing story. So let's hear it.
That was the story.
Oh, that was well, I want to hear the poem.
Oh, the poem.
Oh,
Oh my God, I had to find it.
that's such an amazing story. What do you mean you don't have it prepared, Christine? That's a great story. I
So
mean, and again, listen, I don't have to tell you this, right? And it's funny because you were like, you were so nervous, like, who am I? This and that. Like, you're such an amazing person. The stories that you just told, like you said, how many people do you know like that? Probably not many.
They were like, who does it? I'm like, this is me. This is what I
do it, right? Exactly. Listen, when my dad was dying, right? And this is you probably understand this too. When my dad was dying, me and my brother, fortunately, we were working in a company, our own company, so we had the flexibility to go drive to he was in Yorktown Heights. I would go stay with him for a week. My brother, we would alternate weeks. We had the luxury of being able to be with him. You know what I mean? And I feel blessed for that. Oh my God, what's going on? What's that?
Did you forget what you were going to say?
I did. My brain is like misfiring tonight. I don't know why.
When did your father die? What year?
2010.
2010.
Yeah. But what brought us? Why did we get to that conversation again? Oh my God, I can't. I'm embarrassed, guys. I'm dying. Oh right, who does this? Right. Oh, exactly. So that was exactly the same story, right? So people were like, "You and your brother are so good." Like, what? And I'm like, "What do you mean?
Right.
Like, what else would you do? What else would you do? You know what I mean? Like, I didn't understand why people were saying that it was so good, and I guess people just don't have the time. They have their own lives. They're busy. But, this was my dad. He was on his way out, and I'm glad that we did that. We didn't know how much time he would have. He was diagnosed in August and he was gone in January. We had 6 months, and what a great 6 months we had of spending time with him and healing anything that needed to be healed. We got to walk him out. It was just such an amazing thing.
Send him off, right? Like a king.
Exactly.
That's what we did. We did the same thing. So my mom and I had the same experience that you have. My mom and I are like a tag team. When my dad was sick, my dad died in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
We gave him a good send off too. But so we were there he was sick for a while, for years before he died. But my mom and I don't know any other way to be. And I'm self-employed and she has a very flexible job. So we were always there every day and we became friends with everything. I moved my office into a hospital room, one hospital stint. But this is what we do and this is who we are. And when my dad was dying, his 12 days from February 1st to February 12th, I would say it was a Super Bowl. It was, we're bringing wings in. It was my dad telling us, I'm not going to be here. First of all, I want you to take care of mom. Second, this, third, this, sell the boat, do this. And we were so blessed to have my dad able to talk to us. But the important thing is it was a gift. I would try to tell my brothers, I have a learning disabled brother and another brother. And I was like, guys, this is a gift. This time period we have here with daddy, him talking to us, telling jokes.
You're always going to remember it. Yeah.
It's a gift. One time they took him off of liquids and he's like, I'm thirsty for water. I'm like, Dad, I can't give you water. He goes, what is it going to kill me? It's like my dad was funny.
That's
up
funny.
until he died. But that's I'm sorry about your dad's loss. And, you know, the people that you are, that I am, we don't know any different. And this is what makes us us, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And that's consciousness right there. Just knowing that you're you and that's all you can be, that's the piece there. Christine, I got to tell you, you did it. It's an hour where you you made it all the way through. I know you were nervous. You're awesome to talk to. You're an awesome person. You know what I mean? You have such good, you're a heart driven person, which I think is perfect. I
So are
love
you.
I love that.
You're
Thank you.
awesome. You made it so easy. And I was nervous. I was like, what
Thank
am I
you.
going to talk about? I don't have anything to talk about. And I'm like, I have so much to talk
You
about.
have so much to talk about, and I think again that's what the live stream of consciousness is about, is showing everybody that we're all just people. We all have our stories. We could all learn from each other. We show each other our puzzle piece, and we say, "Oh, look, I fit perfectly right next to you," or "You know what? I fit over here. You fit over here." But look at the picture that's coming clear as we all become our piece that we're supposed to be. So I thank you so much for being here and for opening up. Angelo, thank you so much too for being here. This is great television. I love that you say that. Grace Grella, this is a great show. People who I admire telling me that they like what we're doing. I can't ask for anything else. Thank you so much. Any parting words before I stick you back in the green room and say goodbye to my audience?
I just want to say thank you so much. I've never got to tell this part of my life to anybody or share in a podcast. It was always about work or other things, but spirituality and consciousness is definitely where it's at. And
Awesome.
balance in life. And I think that you're an amazing person. I love what you're doing. There needs to be more of this, and I love our community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it so much. Thank you so much. We'll see you again. I'm going to put you in the
got
back. Don't hang up, because I want to say goodbye to you after I
Okay.
say goodbye to my audience.
All right. Goodbye, everybody.
Oh, how awesome was that, you guys? We are all amazing people, and that's what's so freaking cool. I can bring anybody on this show and find what's amazing about them, and I think, not to brag, but that's what's amazing about me, I guess. No, I just love talking to people and hearing their story, hearing their connections with source, with God, with consciousness. That's what this show is about. I love having these conversations. So thank you guys for always being here and listening. I'm excited. Next week I have a guest who I don't really know much about, but I know that he's had some amazing experiences. Peter Michel, or Peter Michael. I think it's Peter Michel is how you pronounce it. But we'll meet him next week, and I will see you guys next week. Again, thank you always for being here, and I will see you soon. Let me find my outro movie. I have too many here to go through. This is a different one, I guess, than I usually play. Peace.